Okay, everybody, we're gonna get started. Welcome to the June 4th, 2025 meeting of the Delaware Bicycle Council. We'll start with the roll call. So when we call your name, just say here and then we'll go to the members of the guests or members of the public. So Lauren is not here. Fran?
Here.
Matt Cochran? Absent. Tom Hartley? Mostly here. Scott Hoffman here. Mike Carmine?
Here.
Marty Lesnar?
Here.
Jackie McDermott?
Here.
Wendy Velasco?
I'm here.
Mike Tyler? Mike Wagner? Sergeant Wheatley? James Wilson?
Here.
All right, we have 8 members. So we have a quorum. Who do we have for public? Well, we'll start with Bill Weller. I know Bill's here. Bill, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Since Mike Tyler's not here, can you talk about the memorial stuff?
Yes.
Thank you. Who else we got?
I just sent Mike the email, resent the email to him. Should he be looking for the link?
Very good.
We have Pam.
Pam,
Hello.
good evening. How are you?
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. I'm
Are
great.
you wishing to speak this evening?
And when appropriate, briefly.
Did you talk to James already?
James?
James is a member.
Yeah. So you do want to speak briefly, Pam?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to basically, I have avid interest in bicycling and active transportation, multimodal transportation. I moved here recently.
Oh, we'll call your name when we get to the public comment part.
Oh,
We just-
okay. I didn't know if you
we
wanted
just-
me now.
No, we just try to establish an agenda.
You have Bill?
Thanks.
Yeah, Bill, we did.
Okay.
Ian, how are you?
Good. How are you all?
Good. Would you like to speak during the public comment portion of the meeting?
No, I'm just listening in. You know, I would occasionally listen in when Walt was still representing Sussex, and now that he's gone, I thought I would just continue to listen in.
Okay, thank you.
That's it for
Okay. All right. We're ready to go. So
right back to Pam.
no, we're not right back to Pam.
Oh,
First, we
sorry.
have to do the minutes review from the previous meeting.
Sorry.
Meetings from April 2nd, 2025. John sent them out in draft form. If there's any questions or comments about the minutes, of course, John's not here tonight, everybody, just in case you haven't figured that out yet. So I will make note of any comments that anybody would like to make on the minutes, or we can entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that. This is Mike.
Second by Mike Kremrine. Give me a second, because I forgot to write something down. Tom H, Mike K. All right, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, Mike Wagner's here. Any objections? I hear no objections. Minutes are approved. Mike Wagner's the panelist.
Okay.
Okay, now we're on public comment. And we're gonna start with Pam, since we cut her off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Aloha to everybody. As I was saying, sorry about that. I moved here within the last year. from Maui, County of Maui. I worked there for 15 years. We unfortunately had to leave for not a great reason, the fires. But massively, passionately involved in multimodal transportation, bike and ped access. And so I was super excited to see your meeting. And just any way as a citizen, I can get involved. I can support what you guys are doing. I'd love to do that. And I'm just, from now on, I'll just be sitting silently, listening and learning, but I just wanted to introduce myself, and I just love the work you guys are doing.
That's awesome, Pam. Where do you live?
Milton, Delaware.
Okay. We might be calling you because we don't have a Sussex County representative right now.
No, I'd love to do it. And I just got to say one thing. I was very involved with the MPO in Maui, and we did a lot of complete streets and safe routes to school. And I'm a part of the Lewis and the Milton, Facebook site, whatever. And somebody they were just trashing the a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, they were doing a complete street, the paintings and so forth. And these people went nuts. And so I copied some articles from NASHDO and some of these other places and just copied them into very simple explaining why slower speeds, safe routes to school, all this kind of thing. They're not distractions. At any rate, it was a great article, one pager, quick read. And I couldn't believe the number of comments of people who actually took the time to read, and they were just like, oh my God, oh, we're so sorry. Oh, this is great. So whatever it takes, I think there's a lot of folks out there who would love to come around once they have a better understanding of everything from complete streets to safe routes to schools to, God help us, roundabouts. I'm a strong supporter.
Awesome.
So you guys are wonderful. Keep doing what you're doing.
Can you send John Fiore your contact information, please?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Great.
And Pam, where did you publish that article?
No, I pulled it off in NASHDO and a couple of other places. I actually put one on our website, the Maui MPO. I will find it, but they just have really quick fact sheets about how these aren't evil, they're good things, and here's why. But I'll try to track that back.
I'd like to see that too, especially it's hard to get something that people get excited about.
Yeah, and federal highways, I know they just have a lot of, for the community, for the public, easily understood. You don't have to be a transportation engineer, kind of thing with graphics and all the pretty pictures. And yeah, I was amazed. I thought, well, why knock something you don't understand? But no, people were like sending me messages. And so it's a good tool to use. But
Yeah, Pam, it might be interesting for us. This is Tom Hartley. I'm a longtime member of the council, and it might be interesting to get some cross-pollination with somebody that definitely has a different take on it compared to what we've been doing for the last 30 or 40 years here. And Maui's definitely slightly different than Dover or Delaware.
Yeah, you guys are light years ahead. I haven't owned a bike in 15 years because you take your life in your hands when you go cycling on Maui. But we're a little better with pedestrian stuff. But no, I'd love to be involved and learn from you guys.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. All right, takes care of Pam. Bill, do you want to talk about anything other than what the agenda item tonight?
One brief item, and that was just to thank DelDOT for their continued support of the traffic safety stops that occur down in Sussex County. We've had 2 of them so far this summer in the Rehoboth Lewis area, and John supports them, and we just really appreciate that. Sussex Cyclists really appreciates the support from DelDOT.
Awesome. I don't think that was appropriate.
Yes, scratch that. That doesn't make the meeting minutes.
I think that takes care of everybody from the public.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, so we only have new business items tonight. First item is remembrance of Walt Bryan. I hope everybody knows by now that Walt passed away recently. Of course, he was an important member of the council and very involved in the happenings of Sussex County, but Tom actually attended Walt's memorial. So I asked Tom if he could talk a little bit about what happened when he was there and about Walt.
So most of us only knew Walt from the meetings. Turns out that the rest of the family kind of also caught a lot of Walt, sometimes at appropriate times and sometimes not so much. So it turns out the gory details, he had a cerebral hemorrhage. I got that out. And basically went to BB Hospital and then got transported up to Jefferson. And after he got to Jefferson, it wasn't long before he passed away. It was apparently a pretty massive thing. He didn't regain consciousness. He went peacefully. So that's kind of the unfortunate details. I had no idea that next year he was going to be 90 years old.
Wow, really?
So I had no idea. His daughter, Lisa, was telling me that he would have just as soon died at BB because in that way he could have been born at BB, could have died at BB. But she was taking it rather well too. He had 3 daughters. He had 2 wives that both died of cancer. So he was a widower twice. Apparently, quite frankly, he was a nasty drunk when he was younger. And he was pretty hardcore. We never knew it. I never knew it anyhow. That he was pretty hardcore into AA and basically had been sober for longer than he was drinking. So I think he was sober for 45 years. But one of the reasons, and I didn't even know how much he cycled. Everybody knew that he cycled some because otherwise he wouldn't be on the council, but he was really passionate about photography, and between kayaking and bicycling was a neat way to get places where he could take pictures of wildlife and things that he was passionate about also. And he actually had, according to his daughters, bikes that were way too expensive. And so,
As we all know.
I had no idea. I was like, so like, does he have a 3-speed or, what is it? And she says, oh no, it was expensive. I don't know if any of us ever rode with him, which is kind of a shame. He was graduate of Lewis High School class of 53. He had, let's see, somewhere in here, he had 3 daughters, 7 grandkids, and 4 great-grandkids. The grandkids were at the memorial service. They were very cute. Some of them, of that very cute 3- and 4-year-old. He was an alderman in the court systems. He helped with the Department of Elections as far as a poll worker. Of course, everybody knows he was a real estate agent. He was a Air Force retiree. He was a jet mechanic and a pilot. He was a member of Cool Springs Presbyterian Church. Let's see. I didn't really prepare really great. He really liked the trails. He was really into cameras, and apparently whatever bicycles he had racks on all his cars to haul his bicycles, and on all his bicycles he had a rack so he could haul his cameras.
Nice.
And then I don't know. I'm certainly not going to read it, but there was a little farewell to Walt poem. If we want to stick it in a newsletter or we have a webpage, right?
Yep.
We could put it on there.
Okay.
Anyhow, his daughter said that the council and real estate helped keep him young, and he went out. He was doing everything with with everybody, just like he was with us. And I did share with her that this was a pretty cheap shot as far as getting out of chair of the innovation grant. As far as seemed like it was a little excessive as far as shirking his responsibility there, which she got a hoot out of because she was actually taking things very well, and she was pretty funny. But some of the same things that we heard about Walt, and they did share the fact that Walt would frequently tell the same story over and over. The only thing is, if you listen carefully, it frequently got a little bit better as time went on.
Of course.
But that was Walt. It was a good memorial service, and we'll miss Walt.
Yep. Anybody else have any memories of Walt they want to add? Ian wants to say something.
Yeah, I knew Walt. I worked with him the last 10 years or so with the elections. He was the inspector at the local poll that I started working at, and he elevated me eventually to majority judge. It was amazing how many people he knows throughout, not just Sussex County, but throughout the state. I mean, very outgoing, very friendly, very loves to always laugh. He was a good guy. He really was.
Agreed. He'll definitely be missed. Thanks, Ian. Okay. Moving on to the next item of new business is the Everyone Goes Home Summit. James is on the phone. I'm gonna share James's slide presentation. So James, you are good to go.
Hear me,
We can hear you.
Scott? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I apologize. A little bit of background noise. I'm on a train. I'm gonna keep it quick. So I hope there are some folks who have been to a few of the past summits. This is an evolution of a conference that's been going on since 2012. Has been important in driving a lot of pro-bicycle change over the years. You see there Governor Markell, I think that was the first or second one. Professor Firth talking about low traffic stress, bicycle network analysis and planning. You see the governor and two cabinet secretaries, and here they are again announcing a bicycle-friendly state ranking. It's been a great conference. Next slide.
Hey, James, it seems like you're overdriving your microphone just a little bit. Ease off of back away from your microphone just a little bit.
I will try. I'm actually on my phone.
Okay.
So it's not a bike summit per se anymore. It's really a traffic safety summit. This is the third Everyone Gets Home Summit. I won't go into really any too much detail about why the conference has evolved that way, except to say that there are changes to the road network that we need to see if bicycling is going to be safe. And I think it's hard to argue for those changes when it's just about bicycles, people using bicycles, or even people walking and cycling. You really need to make an argument for things that will benefit everybody, in particular in drivers. The theme of the program this year is self-explaining roads. Next slide. Has a lot of go back to a lot of slides, include a lot of sponsors, including the Delaware Pedestrian Council and pretty much the entire engineering community in Delaware, from JMT to Rossi to GPI to Century, RK&K, Whitman Reckart, McCormick Taylor, and Kittleson, and also Delaware Greenways and Bike Newark are also sponsors of the summit. Next slide. And this is something that is too much to read, way too many words, but just to give you sort of a sneak peek at the sort of keynote talks from the chief engineer at DelDOT, a senior researcher at the University of North Carolina Highway Safety Research Center, which is probably the leading traffic safety center in the U.S., and finally, engineer from the Washington State Department of Transportation, who is also the vice chair of the AASHTO Safety Committee. And for those of you who don't know what AASHTO is the Association of State DOTs. It's how state DOTs communicate with each other and talk to each other, and they do their work in these various committees and councils. And the Safety Committee is obviously a central committee that AASHTO has, and we are going to have the vice chair of the AASHTO Safety Committee come and give one of our keynotes. So there's a lot of background noise here, so I don't want to do any more, but I just wanted to invite personally everybody on the council and guests as well here. We'd love to have you join us at Summit 2 weeks from today. I don't think anybody on the council has yet registered to attend. Thanks,
I'm
Scott.
gonna try to be there, James. So you'll have at least one.
I'll do my best, James.
James, I have registered, but I have to back out because that's my week of vacation. So I apologize. It's a
Okay.
great, I've been the past few years. It's awesome. I recommend everybody attending.
And the important thing,
Thank you.
James, if you're trying to plug the thing, you want to say that it's free and you feed them too.
It is free. We really don't want to, put any barrier in between, people that should be coming to this and saying, oh, but I don't want to pay, whatever. It's not only free, but we feed you. So it's a pretty good deal.
Any other questions for James about the summit? All right. Thanks, James. Okay, next item is memorial plaque for John. I'm just gonna say K because I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Mike Tyler was slotted to do this presentation, which I'm gonna pull up in a minute. Bill's gonna step in since he worked with Mike on this, and then Bill, just so you know, we did get some feedback from DenRec already, which we want to talk about when you're done talking about. And then
And we also have some preliminary feedback from John Fiore as well,
okay.
if you saw the email chain.
Yeah, so we might be talking about the same thing. I'm pulling your presentation up.
Okay.
Okay, first slide is up.
Okay. Next page, please. So at the last meeting, the council agreed to consider my recollection of the meeting and my notes was that the council agreed to consider recommending a commemorative plaque for John Kay be placed that recognized his contributions. Mike Tyler and Walt agreed to work with the Sussex cyclists to develop the plaque. Mike and the Sussex cyclists met a few times. Yeah, so there is a precedent here. There was a plaque put up in about 2014 for Larry Wonderland on the Junction Breakwater Trail on the bridge that goes over to Salt Marsh. It is a relatively small plaque. It's 10 by 6, so it's less than a sheet of paper in size, but it's amazingly well, it's held up amazingly well considering it's 11 years old and it's outdoors. It does a little summary of him, a picture. So we're proposing that there be another plaque for John put on the same bridge with here's some suggested text and a photo that would be included. In the discussion after I submitted this to John Fiore, he pointed out, first of all, like you were saying, Scott, it's a DenRec. The bridge is on the trail that is managed and the responsibility of DenRec. So the bike community, whoever, the bike council, whoever would have to work with DenRec and get their permission, find out what their requirements are. And then there's the funding and manufacturing. John John Fiore mentioned that this type of sign couldn't be made by DelDOT, and it sounded like the complications of having DelDOT fund it would be beyond the cost of what the sign might cost to make. So we need to talk about what is the council's recommendation. Does the council have some suggestions? Do we go back to Sussex Cyclists and see if since I'm kind of sitting with two hats here at the moment, if Sussex Cyclists wants to fund it, although we'd have to know what the cost is and who could make such a sign. The one that's made would be a great template if we could find who made it in the process so that it could hold up just as well.
Do you know who put it up?
Well, that's not, no. Mike Tyler was intimately involved in having that plaque put up 11 years ago. He was an instrumental in actually having the Junction Breakwater Trail put in place, let alone the plaque. So I was hoping he'd be here to talk about some of the history. I don't have that history. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, so Bill, I reached out to Mike Krumrine about this, since he's our DNREC representative. And Mike got back to me, and I don't know, Mike, do you wanna, so I don't butcher this, do you wanna kind of give the feedback that you got from the folks in Parks, or whoever that would be?
Yeah, I pushed it up the chain because up to higher management, because this is actually not something that we normally will allow in parks. And I think a lot of that is just because we get so many requests for this kind of stuff that it's kind of like, when do you stop? So typically what we do, rather than doing individual plaques like that and have them posted, we typically do either memorial trees or memorial benches. And I was basically told pretty much from the director that it would not get approved to be put up as a plaque like you're proposing. Interestingly enough, nobody in the department is even sure who approved the last plaque that was up or how that one got posted. There were a lot of people who didn't even know it was there. So what we're recommending, if you would like to honor him, and that does definitely make sense, he's certainly deserving of it, to do a memorial bench. And I was told that if you would like a memorial bench on the Junction of Breakwater Trail, that would not be a problem. The cost of those is $2,500. Parks will do all the purchasing and everything for it and install it. You guys would just have to come up with the money to pay for it.
Okay.
So,
And if we want to follow up, do we follow up with you, Mike, or?
you certainly can, and I can certainly get that passed on to the correct people. The other option, if you want to go straight through J.C. Madden, who is the park superintendent at Cape, she can certainly work with you as well, because it'll be her staff that would be installing it if it does get purchased.
And what the memorial tree you mentioned, is there much difference in what does that involve in?
Yeah,
Does...
I don't know as much about that. I can certainly find out and get that information to you. I know we do them in all the parks. I don't really have a whole lot of information about the memorial tree program and what that would cost and how that works.
Okay. That would be useful since it'd be helpful to have options to go back to the board of Sussex cyclists.
Okay. I will inquire about that tomorrow and report directly back to you. And I'll CC Scott as well and John Fury as well.
Okay, and you have my contact information?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can get it from John. I probably have
Okay.
it on chain.
Okay.
So
you.
Bill, I did ask one more thing I just wanted to add. So I asked John about our funding situation this year. And he says there's not any funds in the current fiscal year, but it's possible that it would be in the next one, which would be July. So, I mean, we can basically keep this on the agenda for the next meeting if you guys want to come up with a proposal to bring to the council for the next meeting, which will be June, which will be August.
Okay.
All right. This out. So, anybody else have anything on the memorial plaque? All right, moving on to the cycling infrastructure grant working group item. Unfortunately, Walt was a member of the grant working group and also the chairman. I did reach out to some people, and Mike Cromrine has offered to be on the grant working group. We don't currently have a chairperson. Does anybody that's on the group want to offer to be the chairperson? I'm pointing at Tom Hartley.
Well, I pointed back to Scott. I can try to do it, yes.
Well,
With your help.
yes, with my help and with John's help, I think we can
Right,
probably coax John to do more work.
that's it. And Fran can help via telephone.
She told me offline that she's not helping. She said to tell you that.
You owe me one, Tom.
Damn, I didn't know I was gonna have to pay for it.
So do you think that we have to have a vote to replace Walt? I mean,
We can always have one and be safe.
okay, so please make a motion to add Mike to the grant working group.
Sure, you can throw it all together.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to add Mike Cromrine to the Innovation Grant Working Group and ask Tom Hartley to be our replacement chairperson.
Fran, you ought to move that, Fran, before I make the motion to put you in.
Won't
James
do you any
already
good,
started.
Tom. I won't be here.
It's never stopped us before.
Then I make a motion that Tom become the chairperson.
Wow, okay, now we have two motions.
Oh, do I just need to second one?
Yeah, James, I put it all in one thing and James seconded it, so
Okay,
I think we're good.
I vote yes.
I didn't know if it was proper for the chairperson to make the motion, so that's why I Fran.
I think there's extenuating circumstances here
Okay.
that allows that to happen.
Cool.
Executive privilege or whatever
Yeah,
you call it.
exactly. Donald can do it, anybody can do it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to revise the grant working group. All in favor?
Yes.
Any objections? I hear no objections.
The only person that we heard in the affirmative was Fran. I think she's out to get me.
There was no. I'll talk to you after the meeting. Fran and I already discussed this.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Okay, everybody. So the last item on the agenda is also related to Walt's passing. So Walt was also the vice chair of the council. I talked to John about this, and he says we don't have to have a vice chair. it was something, it was not part of the original bicycle council. Apparently along the way it was added. We don't need to have it, but we do need to. So we do need to have a commitment from the members of the council to fill in to run the meeting if, for whatever reason, I'm not gonna be here as the chairman. So it's up to the council whether we wanna nominate and elect a new vice chair or whether we wanna proceed kind of in our current situation. Does anybody have any thoughts?
Scott, I'll continue to try to make it in person. That makes it a little bit more advantageous to conduct the meeting and try to make it here in person. I've done it before, not quite as well as you, but you know, I can at least fill that role as far as standing in when necessary if it works out. So I don't have strong feelings one way or the other, and I don't know if anybody wants to be the chair of vice or not.
Does anybody either want to be the vice chair, or do you have a strong desire that the council has a vice chair for the rest of this term? If so, please raise your hand. I see no hands being raised.
Scott,
Yes.
I'd emailed you if the council wants a vice chair and no one is interested, I'd be willing to stand in as vice chair. But if the council doesn't want a vice chair, I'm okay with that too.
Okay. Well, if we wanna ask Mike to be the vice chair, we need a nomination, we need a motion to make Mike the vice chair.
I think we ought to make Mike the vice chair. So moved.
We have a motion that Mike Wagner act as the vice chair for the rest of the term in replacement of Walt.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Fran. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We got 3 ayes. Is there any objections? I don't see any objections. Thank you, Mike Wagner. All right, that concludes our new business, and we don't have any old business to discuss. So,
I want to ask if anybody has any other business, which I don't think they do. But
well, does anyone else have any other items they'd like to discuss?
I'll take a minute. This is James.
Okay, James.
So I'd emailed the grant committee about the idea of a group separated crossing. This is something that Walt talked a lot about, and he had a lot of discussions. I'm not sure that he ever, fully briefed the council on all the discussions, but I think he was sort of the person who was sort of leading that. And I emailed the grant committee a couple of weeks ago about, the idea of a tunnel rather than a bridge, and in particular, whether the Bikeway Innovation Grant might be something that could advance that. So I just kind of wanted to, bring that up again, to see if anybody on the grant committee or the council as a whole just has any thoughts about any of that.
Well, I guess I have one thought about it. Walt was the primary connection to Sussex County, who seems to be the entity most likely to do anything with that.
and had the connections with the developers.
Yes. So, if Walt is not doing anything, I don't think anybody is doing anything.
James, is it possible to find somebody at the county level that would be willing to kind of take that on? Because personally, I feel, I've done the grade separated trail crossings in Florida and in Massachusetts. And with the amount of traffic we get on that trail, it's gonna make the trail that much more attractive, especially the farther reaches, to not have that barrier to crossing and the potential conflicts with cars at an intersection and what have you. I think it's plenty worthwhile. Do you have any connections at the county with anybody that would be willing to put it forward as a potential grant?
I mean, I know the county administrator. Not only do I know it, I mean, I don't know him as well as Walt, but I know him. But I know he's interested in this. As Bill Weller, I think, Sussex Cyclist knows, he reached out to folks, a few months back about, asking for letters of support or some sort of, something that he had in mind in terms of funding. So he's already interested in this idea to some extent. So, maybe this is just things are going to be happening, and the Delaware Bicycle Council Bikeway Innovation Grant might not be relevant. But on the other hand, somebody needs to go talk to him, get him on the phone, meet with him, see what see where he is in terms of advancing the idea, and if he's nowhere in terms of funding, then at that point, poking on the idea of whether the council's Bikeway Innovation Grant might be helpful. I genuinely don't know. I mean, it's a fairly substantially large, big, presumably kind of an expensive thing, grade separated crossing, and maybe the Bikeway Innovation Grant just isn't the right size of grant to get that off the ground. I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. By the way, if you lose me, it's because I just ironically am going into a tunnel.
All doors open on the right side.
Did I lose the council? Are
No,
you
you're
guys
still there. We can hear the conductor.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yes.
I thought it was the radio.
So that's,
Well,
I
James,
just wanted to throw that there. Any thoughts that, maybe nobody has any thoughts, maybe it's just a question of whether there's some capacity to reach out to Sussex County. I mean, we've just been talking about this for so long. I don't know whether the grant is something that can help this move forward, but I'd like the question to be asked.
So we did write him a letter in support of one of those funding applications he was asking about. So I
Yeah,
can reach out.
I have no idea if he. Yeah,
ahead.
let's reach out to him and ask him if he got any money.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him and I'll copy you and John, and then we'll go from there.
Who
That
is
sounds great. Thank you, Scott.
Yes, okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a plaque, but I sort of feel like maybe this could be a kind of memorial to Walt.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. And since it's a DelDOT thing, we could embed it in the concrete.
It's something that he really wanted to make happen, and maybe we picking this up from him kind of a tribute to his memory.
And the thing is, I personally think, when you go down there, especially on the weekend, and see the amount of traffic that you get on the trail, and that's still close enough to Lewis, there's going to be a lot of use for that tunnel or bridge. Whereas a lot of
the angle
people
the angle that I'm personally interested in is sort of seeing if there's interest in exploring the tunnel option. I think we don't have any good examples really of good bicycle tunnels in Delaware. And I think to the extent that people have a mental vision of what a bicycle tunnel looks like, it's like it's basically like you're crawling through a sewage pipe. It's this dark and small and scary place that you don't really want to be in. But tunnels don't have to be that way. There's really great engineering that has been done to make tunnels open and airy and light and pleasant to move through and not scary. And I think it would be a major step forward for Delaware if we had an on the ground example of like a really good bicycle tunnel.
Hey, James is the, it's only like 35 miles away. It's in Maryland, but does the university's, or Salisbury State University's tunnel going underneath Route 13, is that a good example?
I feel like maybe I know what you're talking about, but could you maybe send me an email with some sort of like an image of that, and let me take a look at it?
If I can find one, but James, it's the start of the Seagull century.
Yeah, I think I saw it years and years ago, but I don't have a really strong memory of it anymore.
Where is that?
Yeah. It's right in front of, it's immediately east of the university, or Salisbury State University on Route 13. So it's south of there because that's the middle of town. And
it would be great to see like a nearby example that could be like, you know, an inspiration. If there's a nearby example, maybe we can find out, you know, what engineering firm was involved.
Scott, you're real close to it.
It's north or south?
I think you're a little, it could be like right there. It's somewhere right in there because you kind of come out near that track. The track on the other side, the track that's to your east there. It's in that vicinity. We should be able to see, that's probably it. Right about where your cursor is. That's probably that sidewalk is probably going up and down. See it? Just below the route that was blue. I think you're right on top of it, right about where your cursor is.
So it comes out way over here though.
Oh, then maybe that's not it.
No, here it is, right here.
Yes, I would believe that.
There it is.
Oh, that's going down. Okay.
Yep, that's going down, and 13 is where the light is.
Yep.
So all right. So if you want to talk about the engineering of what this tunnel is going to be, this is the big issue that we have in engineering this tunnel, is getting this ramp.
Well, the ramp could run parallel with.
It could run parallel, but you need to have the land for that.
And then put the curve in.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is the, you know, and they got to go under the road, but honestly, digging up the road is a construction issue, and dealing with the water is a little bit construction issue, but like, that's not a technical challenge for the project. The technical challenge is figuring out where to put these long ramps to fit it into whatever space that Delaware can get, and it's gonna be right of way acquisition, and that's their thing. So.
And utilities.
And utilities, thank you, Wendy. So James, I definitely think that the innovation grant could cover some things like understanding where the right of way is, understanding what the utilities are, and a little bit of preliminary planning on, you know, how deep it would be and how much space you need for these approaches. Looks like Ian has his hand raised.
Yeah, I retired from the Federal Highway Administration in 2015 when I moved here. It's going to be the same issue whether you're talking a bridge or a tunnel. The amount of approach that you need, whether you're going up to a bridge, you know, over a bridge, or whether you're going down to the tunnel, it's going to be the same issue in terms of the amount of land and amount of space that you're going to require. The tunnel becomes another issue. I've seen some past places where the tunnel became kind of a congregation point for homeless people, and it became an unpleasant place to ride through and walk through because it would be full of urine overnight. And so that's another issue to think about when you're talking tunnel versus bridge. The other thing you were talking about is the traffic on 9. You know, when this huge new development that Freeman is putting in at Cool Springs, which is right at where that crossing is going to be, you know, you're talking another 10,000 car trips per day just from that development going on to 9 at that location. And so it's another reason that you could use to try to drive home the need for this grade separation, whether it's a tunnel or a bridge, an overpass of some sort.
I don't think I'm in the right spot yet.
The thing is, you wouldn't have to acquire very much land if you just followed the rail crossing going across the existing road, because you could
You
go
talking
down.
about, you talking about right here?
You could go down the railroad right of ways.
Excellent point, sir. Hartley. That's an excellent point. Okay. That's some good thoughts. Anybody else want to say anything about the tunnel? Which will be named the Walt Bryant Tunnel if we can get it done.
Good thing to bring up, James.
One other good possibility is, you know, the plaque for John Kay, you know, could always go onto that structure as well.
Yes, since we only have to fight DelDOT, not Denver.
They won't make the sign now. Okay, anybody have anything else, or we need to have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
For Walt, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Any objection to adjourning? I don't hear any objections. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in August.